tattoos as well.
I do, yes. Unfortunately for everyone at home, I decided to get my back done first, in which case, you know, I left my arms completely bare in most cases, which is kind of the backwards way of going about it, quite literally on my back. But yeah, I'll have a nice back piece by the time we're done. But we're heading over to Erangel first, in which case we're going to see if we can see the back-to-back coming out from Influence Chemin or not. In this case, we are having a very steady playing path going across the map down towards the Povka. We got to see some of those drop spots which were set up by our beautiful production team, showing exactly where some of these players may be dropping. We did see a slight change in that on the first Erangel, just typically because of our playing path and where some of these teams decided to hop on over towards. This guy is just surfing on air. Happy days.
Playing path on the north side. RA out early. Heading up north. Remember, the first game we had today was that military circle finish. And the playing path was a little bit more south-leaning. So places like Primorsk, a lot more accessible. But this one cuts it right down the middle. And everywhere should be achievable. If you want to go for that military base, it's likely you're going to be dropping out near farm. So maybe see a little bit of a scuffle around vehicles around there, or just to the southwest of Pachinki.
Southwest side. On our circle here, teams will be looking for some of the compounds a little bit less populated by these compounds. This area of the map quite sparse in terms of areas to play, so teams will be most likely sending out a little bit closer to this direction nice and early to ensure they have those positions on the map that they can play in and play from. Team Queso not dropping up towards Severny, instead dropping on top of Box at the moment. Isla trying to run for the hills, get to safety here, keeping a tab on Bensu, but he's already found himself an M4, deadly weapon at the beginning of the game, a beautiful one to start out with. Reyes, double shotty in hand. We know how good this guy can be. He's been a little bit of the foundation for the team at the moment. And again, more hot drops coming through. School as well as apartments harassed by MadBulls.
No one going down just yet. No one taking that knock, but trapped on the upper floor is not where you want to be against the MadBulls. Does have some oversight. Slows things down with a smoke. Potential for some regrouping coming through. The MadBulls playing 2 down. And, of course, they've got those 2 across the way. But Pui can start to control those sight lines with the outside shots as well. It's going to be difficult to make this push. It's not trivial, but if they want to go for the commit, they can make it.
I mean, this is the first time we'll see MadBulls in an early game engagement. Bensu, UMP, and M4. Dangerous to tango with this guy upstairs. A dance to the death, realistically.
Back and forth. UMP, first strike. 1, but it's turned around from the DP. The screen is going to get tapped. Box with the early lead into this engagement by Isla has the double barrel up the staircase. Can Box keep this one alive? Can they keep it going in the compound?
Frustratingly, Box is able to find all the weapons throughout these compounds, all situated in one singular area. So Team Queso are now looking to find somewhat of a handhold on this fight, but at the moment they're just consistently slipping down again. Early engage from MadBulls, not something we've seen too much of. Voki on the outside with the AKM, disgusting at close range, especially in the early game. If you hit those double chest shot into a neck or a head, that is an instant flush there from the knock.
Oh, Ayala doing a lot of work there onto 2 of the players from Box, leaving 2 of them up and standing. Traded off Bensu, jousting around the side, needs to go for a reload, is forced to do so. So is his opponent, and in comes the DBS. That is going to be really, really useful in these close-range engagements. Team Queso trying to hold it on against Box right now. At the top, tries to peek out, but is sent back by Trismate, but it is traded off. Papi Potro, last standing. Trismate, last for Box. No one pushing into this just yet, but the res is coming through on both sides. You can see in the picture-in-picture as well, the engagement between 4 Rivals and MadBulls. Kind of in a stalemate. Papi Potro with that nade. Only time for 1 res, and both of them are going to look to push on in blank for Box. The ground floor now taking control of. Scry wants that heal, will be able to find it. Reyes, low. Doesn't look like they have the healing to boot.
Yeah, it was worth it to get that DBS back in action for Reyes, but without any medical supplies, that nade had to be perfect through the window. Instead, it just is a glancing blow. Luckily, he's got 2 more to play around with. Drops out the window. That's very dangerous. Drops back towards him. This is a confusion play right now. Both teams dazzled by the plays that are currently coming through.
Oh, lovely little knock around the side. That came through from Reyes. I think he hopped out on the balcony, spotted him through the window, and chunked the shot with the DBS. Really, really nice attention-drawing play from PapiPotro. Not really worried about the top rope, and there it came. 2 players on the inside. Nade being pulled. Pin is out for PapiPotro. He's putting it back in. Pulls it again. Trisme baited in for that engagement as PapiPotro finally puts that nade, leashes it. Flies it on through, a little angle found, but it's answered beautifully. Perfect shots coming through from Bensu to keep box up at 2. Reyes with the DBS wants to stop this res onto Scry. Will be able to open up towards the window, but he's on a sliver of HP now, and it's all to come crumbling down. 2 players alive for box. This engagement has been brutal for both of these sides. PapiPotro still alive. Trisme up top. Reyes looking for that heal, but spotted. Reposition, stays alive for now. Bensu wants to spray and will be able to put the final nail in. PapiPotro falls. Team Queso out, but box lose 2.
Horrible position there set up for Box Gaming inside the building, but both nades failing to get through that window. What a terrible time that was for Team Queso. Reyes also suffers an unfortunate approach onto that engagement, takes the shot through the window, and it is on target, except most of the bullets find themselves slamming into the back of the knocked player from Box, finding the flush, but not finding the player that was up in action. So a real unfortunate turn of events there for Team Queso. Again, quite the flustered engagement, I would say. Both those teams were not really on the dominant end of either of those teams, so it was a bit of a struggle. They got it done regardless. Skillsers, no meds available, only the shotgun. Voki with a nade, so does Appy. So both these players looking to put a little bit extra damage, and that a little bit of damage might be just enough to take down these players from MadBulls.
Should know exactly where they're playing from. The shotgun jumping forwards there and finds the shot. Skillsers doing so much work, but that is an excellent off angle to be held for the trade for rivals. Monkey now committing to this res. Zerich in effect, they've been holding back this whole time. They have not moved in.
Yeah. I mean, at this point in time, Skillsers and Monkey are desperately requesting the backup. The res comes through. Appy now looking to send another grenade in. This one might just be long enough, looking to pop it into the back room there. It's a little bit off target, but you could see the thought process, and it was good. Appy's going to move in. Skillsers dodges most of those shots, tries to move outside.
Caught on the cross there. There's shots in through the window that MadBulls can take, but the instant drop from Voki is good. It is traded off by effect across the way in a different engagement entirely, but MadBulls just lose 2. They didn't want to go for the backup push. They didn't want to try and commit there, and for it, they will lose 2 of their players. Can they play on with 2?
I mean, this is rough now. I think for MadBulls, it looked decent, but they had control of the compound. No loot, no nothing inside, and I think that's where you definitely start to run into some issues of your own, which is you move in the building, you get maybe an AKM and a shotgun, not even an auto shotty either, and in that instance, you have a case where both those players now have no meds to play around with, and really you needed those 2 players to be able to delay long enough for those 2 players inside of Skull to be able to find those angles over to 4 rivals and try and open something up. So either way, I think it's a little bit unlucky for MadBulls, but at the same time, I think there needed to be a different approach on that engagement.
South shift on the circle will force people to go for a readjustment. Pretty hard there. S2G on the north side of it. 2-2 split right now on the south side of Ruins around some of these compounds southeast of Everest. Fairly solid for them. They are in this next circle. They're moving further south as well. And they should be pretty happy with their current spot to the east side of Gatka.
We have our second circle coming in already. Obviously, this one definitely locks in a lot quicker. Usually it's around about zone 4 where we really get an ideal idea of where, you know, we're going to be ending up. And now we have those fields, a little bit of quarry, but a lot of Pachinki as well. So some compounds to play around with here, but mostly fielded areas. So very open, flat lands ahead of them. There are teams up towards that northeast side in BTR. The two remaining players from MadBulls currently safe towards Rozhok. Four Rivals might look to pick up those two players as they make their escape from that position. Either way, there will be eyes towards MadBulls at the moment. And their totals at the moment, not good, 15. I mean, that is just about enough to keep them in for the survival stage, but they drop down one more there. They're in with the likes of Box LGD, Team Queso, Infinity, as well as R8, who will be leaving the tournament at this stage, which would be a massive shock to a lot of fans at home.
Would not be great for him. Influence Chemin moving on from the north side. For the Brazilian team, they've had a good start out the gates. But there's a couple of options that they've got now on this rotate blank. They can try and play for this edge on the north side and come in late to the central engagement, or they can try and wrest control of some of the compounds that S2G currently hold.
For S2G at the moment, I think this is a good 2-2 split. We've seen a lot of teams take this kind of position before. We've seen some very aggressive splits as well from some of the CIS teams in the past, where they would hold over towards that western side in Gatka, as well as these two compounds. So you would have a really big split along that way, trying to hold out teams coming down from maybe the hospital rotate. But this is fine at the moment. It gives them a lot of leeway to support one another as teams try to move their way down. Again, next circle will be hitting us very soon again, so we'll get more opportunity for these teams to make some more rotates in towards a position that is ideal, and we still have Pachinki in this, so it should be a very fun ending for us here, John. And I mean, we had Sosnovka, now we're going to get Pachinki. Either way, this has been a fantastic first day of PMGC.
Yeah, it's been really quite exciting with a lot of really strong players coming through as well to control everything around. Nigma Galaxy currently tournament leaders on 55 points, taking shots over towards R8 central areas though. So no impetus to crash, no impetus to really go for these aggressive situations, just laying claim to the surrounding areas of your compounds.
Yeah, Nigma Galaxy have been fairly lucky so far, I would say, even Hawk dropping down towards their compound on Sami, and now we're getting this shift over towards Pachinki, their original drop spot here on this map too. Even on Miramar, they started off in a really fantastic spot for themselves, and they had to push forward with the circle or the plane path being down towards the south. But again, Nigma Galaxy, this is certainly where, as a team though, you can still praise them. If you are lucky, you make the best out of it, right? They've already found themselves a chicken dinner, a really good performance there on Miramar, and now they can try and get some more points available for themselves here over in Pachinki and extend that lead, which is already quite far ahead of a lot of these teams towards the bottom in 8th to 13th. So 55 points is a very, very good scoreline to hit here on our first day.
Godsunny falling for the Infinity. Titan from the south. Spot DRS. Mini 14 gets backed off by the K9. A second one into the backside there for the puncher. Not going to be happy about that. We'll be bleeding out very, very quickly now. Titan want to keep it up. They're going to have to respond. Found some cover, so it is resable.
Yeah. Asa here. Really pick up his teammate, but Rules with the K9 looks to take his head off. They managed to get themselves into cover from that position, so able to identify where those bullets are coming from is really important in a high pressure scenario. Suki, extremely low, gets out of it though, and R8 is suffering.
Traded, 2 players down for LDG, they need LGD, and they need to try and trade it off. But across the way, there's a third party coming through for the spray on the top. R8 lose 1, but they stay alive. 2 eliminations picked up in their central area on the side of the hill that occupies quite a prominent part of this next zone.
For LGD, they just got themselves caught up in 2 engagements at once, and I think with the way the circles are currently progressing, you can be a lot slower on these initial rotates and kind of edge your way in towards the circle itself. MadBulls still going with 2 at the moment, John, over on that northeastern side. And Influence Chemin have managed to get themselves into a very decent spot in towards Pachinki over in Church. Nigma Galaxy leaving that spot early on, actually heading over towards that western side on the compounds there. Yes, they do have sight lines over towards Pochinki. Maybe didn't want to get caught in all the action as a lot of teams are moving their way. So potentially this is more of a survival defensive play coming through from Nigma Galaxy, which I don't mind so much, particularly with how many points they're able to put up. Today is really just about getting those consistent points going, and maybe they can turn up the heat again tomorrow morning.
Titan southeast side will have to move through the Infinity a little bit faster. Influence Chemin, good position on the church. Bigetron on board with them on the northeastern side, near to S2G. Not the easiest of opponents to deal with, especially for a team that hasn't really been, I would say, as loud. But Bigetron, they're keeping up in terms of points. You see, they're 21 to 22 for S2G.
Exactly. I mean, when you look at S2G, you see a highly aggressive team that, you know, you would expect to be towards the top of the tables, in which case you watch their engagement, you're like, wow, they can take it with anyone. But at the same time, they are quite careless sometimes with these engagements. I think for BTR being here with 21 points, 22 for S2G, is a really good performance coming through from them. And again, it's that motivation that maybe LaFlame was talking about, coming back into this one with a bit of a fire in their belly, which was much required for them. So I'll be happy to see this continue.
Spray's not quite landing over onto Trisme. Box going to be looking to try and get back to the force that they can muster on both of their players. Only two of them remaining. Of course, from that early engagement that we were on board with against Team Queso. Tizzy on the outside will be finally found. Tizzy eliminated, 14th place.
Not a good spot to be in. Titans, though, able to get all players back up and running, and we saw them in quite a difficult scenario for themselves versus DRS, but somehow managed to get back on their feet and now moving as a unit up towards the Infinity, who will have to receive this. Newsy still in the vehicle, maybe a little bit late to the party, and Logan trying to support from the back, but it's not enough.
Feeding that information over to the rest of the team. 4 players pushing up eastern side of the hill. They can fall away, they don't have to go aggressive, but Logan might be the sacrifice for it. Went for those sprays, gets the heal off, but not playing in the next circle just yet. Lord spotted, that's a big green gun in the fold. And Orm is in play for Federello. Was that Federello? I think it might have been from Influence Chemin. That's kind of crazy for the position that they're in. We'll be looking out for that a little bit more. Nades over towards Agonxi8, and it is not going well for them.
Trying to reset this fight, but for I8, I think it's all over for them at the moment. Providing some information from the knock players, but just Blade remaining, and I don't think he has much of a position to play from. Prestige looking to finish him off. Trying to go for the res here, but that nade should be on target.
Out the front, and actually, that one's going to land just about missing on the second one. And you post it through the window. It should be a fairly easy push here. And the nade, yeah, that'll do it. R8, take down I8.
Difficulty aplenty there. In the meantime, Influence Chemin moved over towards to pick up the loot crate that dropped in Pochinki itself, leaving Church alone. MadBulls able to slink their way in. Nigma Galaxy taking shots over towards S2G, but it's Federal there with the AWM, sending a big hefty shot S2G's way. And also finding Kengzo.
I mean, it's me. It's pretty big, bringing in this Orm. That's probably from that loot crate. A really good move for Influence Chemin, or a good result on their move, should I say. You never know what's in them until you open them. But S2G locked in combat with Nigma Galaxy. Both of them on 3 players remaining on the western side. The next circle does encompass this compound as R8 try and push up. Will be having a fairly tough time of it. Box up to 5 eliminations now. With the 4 that they were able to claim early, they are able to tickle another one away as Titan lose a player.
Goodness me. Federal with the AWM is honestly just taking the shots of his life at the moment. The ghillie suit sniper, he is pinpoint accurate, hitting the bullseye on a lot of those targets. Influence Chemin are having a huge amount of control over this area just from this singular spot. It is a really good compound to play in. Not opting to play the Harry Potter Tower as well, which R8 have now just occupied, in which case Influence Chemin can maybe move their attention their way.
But just anybody who steps up gets popped with that AWM. It is so hard to deal with. And when you have such good oversight over the open fields of Pochinki, it's going to force a lot of players into the urban environment, and that is going to make it harder for them.
It's much more comfortable high ground as well, I'd say. I mean, you look at Church, there's a lot of areas that teams can make their way into and maybe circumvent some of your outposts. In this position at the moment, really the only big target, the big problem with this one is tossing the grenades from the Harry Potter Tower into the upstairs, right? Where it can roll down the stairs and maybe catch you off guard. You have to be very careful about getting third-partied here. Two teams start looking your way, you best be prepared for a team to actually crash as well and receive that push. So if Influence Chemin, this takes a lot of gumption to play, but I'm sure they can make it happen.
And they've seen the players go into that tower as well, so they should be aware that there is that threat. They'll know that. Most Logan trying to make the approach, actually doing a lot of work over towards Killer, but it's not going to be enough, unfortunately. The Infinity eliminated. Will have found their limit there. Titan on the south side of Pochinki, spread out in a bit of a line, quite a wide split to control the edge of this urban environment, and see if they can guard any teams from getting in.
And for DRS, this is really much a stealth play, right, on this edge, making sure there's no teams crossing over that road. It's practically open ground out towards that eastern side, so they should be able to see players moving in. So they can be quite happy that this area has been swept. For MadBulls, there's still a long way to... Oh, Federal!
Oh my god.
This guy is just opening holes everywhere at the moment.
Most damage, for sure, is going to be Federal in this game. Doesn't even matter if they win.
He's putting a folder together because he's practically the hole puncher at the moment, which is fantastic. But MadBulls, right in the dead center of this next circle. Again, they need to hit like a 5th to 4th place to make this worth it. And with 2 players in this area, which might get a little bit more heavily contested soon, this really does need to be a case of getting the head in the sand and waiting this one out a little bit.
Top 3 teams all still in it. Nigma Galaxy, Titan, Influence Chemin. Still going. 2 players alive for Nigma Galaxy, though. And they will have to leave their current situation against S2G on the west side.
Buriram taking that knock from Influence Chemin was pretty bad for them, honestly, but they're able to regroup, which is great news for them. Nigma Galaxy, on the other hand, not having the best of times as BTR actually opened someone up big here.
This northern side, they've been quiet for quite a while, but now they can start to eke their way in, have a little bit of an impact here. People have moved away from Church. R8 moved down the hill. No one has taken up that position. And Bigetron can kind of just sneak on in there. S2G, who were locked in that fight with Nigma Galaxy, now find themselves staring down the barrels of Bigetron. As Jen Foster wants to put these nades over towards Silas and Calci, that is right on the money. And that will be the end of them. Bigetron wipe out S2G on the northwestern side. They should be able to claim Church for it.
Yeah, 4 limbs as well. Really good stuff there for BTR on the full squad wipe. I mean, S2G, again, very similar performance coming through from them, which is a case of good early game and then a bit of a slapdash late game where, you know, they get themselves caught out in the open versus a team that was waiting. Currently still in their watchtower, but you can see they're taking a bunch of damage as Influence Chemin finally starts to look their way. BTR takes a knock 2, and now they're just completely going for the full-on push, get these players out of the way so they can start to provide themselves with a little bit more room. Even smokes down on the ground for Law to be able to make this push up is pretty fantastic. They will have to worry though, because BTR has broad angles over towards them.
That's really gonna force Influence Chemin back, tail between legs, but it's a really nice suppression from Gajowski. Little boy might go down for their trouble, but they're able to slow Bigetron and force them into that fight with R8. Now, the good news for Influence Chemin is that they don't need to take that fight because Bigetron are going to take it for them and keep control.
R8, 100%. Although saved by the bell by BTR, they're now locked in this spot, right? You know, and BTR's thrown away the key. It's going to be quite difficult for them to get out of this safe. Has been spun by the BTR squad. MadBulls able to put a little bit of damage actually over towards Influence Chemin, and I think they absolutely needed to do that considering how much control they've exerted on this game. MadBulls causing problems on this side technically means they're safer in their position over towards the center.
Bandar down. SK-Ton still standing for R8. Nades coming in towards 4 rivals. They're weathering it for now. 2 eliminations. Teams are starting to get closer and closer and closer together. 3 teams, sorry, on 4 alive. Bigetron, one of them. Look at those nades over towards R8, who are finally down. This is the best performance they've had so far in the games today. This will be where it draws to an end. Federal's feet spotted. 6
Woo!
Gets blasted as MadBulls chime in.
Yeah, honestly, they'd already taken a knock over towards Titans as well. And again, if you'd want 2 players from MadBulls up at the end game for a clutch performance as a duo, it would be Effect and Zerich. These 2 guys play off one another beautifully. And Titans currently are the team that is going to cause them the most problems, being the closest on their angles. Effect just trying to send some more grenades through. He doesn't have any left now, though. Just smokes. And that'll be required for the end game to keep the team and the position under the cover of the clouds.
Bigetron really exerting a lot of control here. I mean, you talked about how it's a lot of space for teams to hide underneath that church, but when you get to these late circles, that kind of turns itself around. And there's not a lot of stuff you could do. That nade was beautiful. Coming over onto Buriram from 4 rivals, and in comes the push. The burn-up is there. That's the entire building cleared. There's no way you get those 2 players back up unless you go for a really fancy play. Tiger wants some retribution with the nade in through the window. Can he find it? The nade is in, and it's both! Whoa. Oh, there was a coordinated nading right on top of 4 rivals. There was one that went in through the window on the top right as well, and that is absolute decimation. I talk about retribution. There it is, Blank.
I mean, you pull the pin, you click the fingers, and the team is gone. These guys are working with Silly Bang at the moment, apparently, so I'm astonished that that happened so quickly, but Buriram were caught on the off by one hell of a nade and then sent 2 of their own. BTR take that moment to move down to a compound of themselves, picking up a building, and it is the MadBulls, the dead center of the storm at the moment.
But they are weathering it. You said to make it worth it, they had to go for 5th, maybe 4th place. With the 2 players that they had, I mean, they've sent center and they've kept a hold of it. Right now, 6 teams remaining. They're not in the easiest of spots, but they're still fighting. DRS get lined up on.
Yeah, and this is very much what you want to see from MadBulls. Is a case of, yes, they had to keep their head in the sand, but at this point in time where teams are starting to get a little bit too close, this is where, you know, that powerhouse behavior coming through from Effect and Zerich comes into play, because even though they are just a duo squad, they're very happy to continue to put the pain in towards a lot of these teams and almost mark their territory this way.
Bigetron might be a little bit of an issue for them, but if Influence Chemin harry them on the way in, it'll slow things down and they can respond effectively. DRS moving in, trying to swing out up towards the little building there. Rules. Not going to go any further for now.
So tries to send some nades over that way to Influence Chemin, but the angle is just a little bit too difficult here. 2 players now remaining for Titan. BTR with 4. Looking to set themselves upon first win of the day, but it's Zerich to step up. Finding Luxy. He swings out just a little bit too wide. Now DRS might have a chance here to get a bit of a spray onto them, and it's all falling apart. The sand slipping between the fingers here for BTR. It looks so good.
Knocked on the top of the hill as well. Removes their oversight. Their power of suppression. So they're forced to get that res onto Zuxi down low. Influence Chemin taking bombardment. We've seen the nades be effective here.
6 of them as well.
Plenty remaining. Cross. Play for Influence Chemin. This is the final zone, Blank, and it's closing. It's going to force everyone together right into the center. At the moment, MadBulls probably one of the closer teams to it, but Influence Chemin getting naded out by Buriram. Skayovsky on the back. Zerich steps up, finds one spray into the smoke. Nades being pulled right now for Delta as he wants to lob it on in and get the answer. But Buriram are looking for suppression there as well. 2 players on the rooftops. This is the Urban Pachinki finish here on the circle. DRS cut down out in the open. Zerich dodges the damage there. The nade not quite on the target. DRS being shot out as well. MadBulls playing with 2. They're playing effectively. Blank, they are really forcing everyone to make decisions they don't want to have to make. Influence Chemin against Titans as everybody starts to pop off. Federal in through the window, but 2 of his teammates have fallen. Only Federal remains. Buriram on the top of the roof, still just raining down hell on anyone who peeks their heads out. As MadBulls continue to stay alive. We're down to 6 teams. They're still going.
And for MadBulls, it's just hit and run tactics at the moment, John. And teams are hemorrhaging players as we go, and MadBulls are starting to look like, you know, they can go toe-to-toe for everyone. I think they have maybe the most players over the Buriram. Last player from Influence Chemin goes down, and my name drops over the top. There is Insurgent over on that top side, and MadBulls might have to deal with this one.
God, that rooftop position was so huge.
This is cool.
But we're playing on the building. 2 versus 2. Top versus bottom here. The final zone is still closing. Neither team wants to make that step. Neither team wants to make that drop or try and push out. MadBulls really don't have the decision though. They can't access Buriram at this stage.
Stimming already. I hope he's got an adrenaline shot there because that's what's required. And Buriram might even have to make the drop out the top side. Derek's just going to hold it. Drops out the top. My name goes down. Not any damage found though. And Tiger similarly also struggling. Effect jumps into the building. This is the perfect opportunity for them, but Zerich has to perform.
Oh, he doesn't quite manage to make it. Effect now last standing. Doesn't have full stims there. They will have to drop down on the out. Oh, he catches one. Effect needs to spray and he drops it. Top rope. It's MadBulls to stay alive. From the center of Pachinki into duo. What a way to win it out for MadBulls here on Erangel. They absolutely controlled so much of that final zone. Buriram from the rooftops will have to fall and right into the scopes of Effect.
I mean, Effect at the end there, you can see him usually. This guy has got quite the stony face, but this man is happy towards the end. It's good to see. With the help of his buddy Zerich there in the middle. Real good stuff. I mean, you're happy to see it for them. Effect with the most valuable player, 1,126 damage done. Again, it was those hit and run tactics. They picked a very, very good central position. And this is where these new circle changes are coming into effect. Because, you know, they're not getting forced out. Thumbs up all around. Happy days. Really, really well done to this team. Honestly, I thought things were all over after we saw that tragic event over towards